$38 billion. That's more than the GDP of Iceland. More than Apple spends on R&D in a year. And in 2016, the US government quietly committed every single dollar of it to one foreign nation in the largest military aid package in American history. No bidding war, no public debate, barely a headline. But here's what nobody told you. That deal didn't just arm a country. It created one of the most quietly explosive gold mines on Wall Street. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, who got rich, and what you can learn from it. Okay, let's rewind. Here's how this actually works, stripped down to its core. Imagine you and your best friend live next door to each other. Your neighborhood isn't exactly safe. There are some very aggressive neighbors a few blocks away. Your friend can't afford to protect their house, so you step up. You say, hey, I'll give you money every year to buy security equipment, cameras, alarm systems, whatever you need. But here's the deal, you have to buy most of it from my stores. That's essentially what the United States has been doing with Israel since 1948. But in September 2016, the Obama administration and the Israeli government signed a new deal called a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. And this one was historic. $38 billion over 10 years. That's $3.8 billion every single year, guaranteed. And most of that money, it had to be spent on American-made defense products. Think fighter jets, missile defense systems, radar technology, cybersecurity software. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for us as investors and deal makers. Here's the playbook, and pay close attention because this is how government contracts become Wall Street gold. When Congress approves foreign military financing, or FMF, that money doesn't go to Israel as cash. Not really. It goes into a system called Foreign Military Sales, or FMS. And through that system, Israel essentially places giant purchase orders with US companies. We're talking about deals like $3.8 billion for 50 F-35 stealth fighter jets built by Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth, Texas. $1.9 billion for V-22 Osprey aircraft built by Boeing and Bell. Hundreds of millions for Iron Dome missile defense integration developed jointly by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems in Israel and Raytheon Technologies here in the US. Now, stop. I want you to see what's actually happening here through an M&A and finance lens. Every one of those contracts is essentially a guaranteed revenue stream. In finance, we call this visibility. When a company is locked in government, contracts worth billions of dollars over a decade, their future revenue is predictable. And predictable revenue makes a company worth more, much more. It increases what's called their enterprise value, the total value of the business, including debt, and that predictability. It attracts private equity. It attracts strategic acquirers. It triggers M&A. Okay, quick finance lesson. This is the part most channels skip. Don't skip it. This is where the money is made. When investors or private equity firms look at a company, they ask one question above everything else. How certain is this company's future cash flow? A hot dog stand has unpredictable cash flow. Depends on the weather, the neighborhood, the economy. A defense contractor with a 10-year, $38 billion government-backed contract, almost zero uncertainty. That's what we call a sticky revenue model. The government is not going to cancel an F-35 order halfway through. They can't. The political and logistical cost is too high. So here's what happens in the M&A world. Step 1. Valuation expansion. When analysts apply a valuation multiple, say 15 times EBITDA, to a company with visible, locked-in revenue, the company's price goes up. Lockheed Martin's valuation has grown by over 400% since 2010, partly because of exactly this dynamic. Step 2. Roll up acquisitions. Bigger defense primes, your Lockheeds, your Raytheons, start acquiring smaller niche companies to capture pieces of these contracts. In 2020 alone, Raytheon merged with United Technologies in a $121 billion deal, one of the largest defense mergers in history. They wanted Pratt & Whitney's jet engines. Why? Because Israel and dozens of other US allies need jet engines. Step 3. Private equity enters. When PE firms see a fragmented market of smaller defense subcontractors, all feeding off the same giant government contracts. They start buying them up, combining them, and selling them for a profit. This is called a roll-up strategy. Buy 10 small companies, combine them, sell one big company for 3x what you paid. This is not theory. This is happening right now. Let me give you 3 real deals that were directly or indirectly powered by this dynamic. Deal 1. The Carlyle Group and Booz Allen Hamilton. In 2008, the Carlyle Group, one of the most powerful private equity firms on the planet, took Booz Allen Hamilton, a defense consulting and intelligence firm, private in a $2.54 billion leveraged buyout. Carlyle knew something the public didn't fully appreciate. Booz Allen's revenue was almost entirely government contracts. NSA, Pentagon, Defense Intelligence Agency, rock solid. When Carlyle took Booz Allen public again in 2008, they made a killing. The stock has since grown more than 1,000%. That is what locked-in government revenue does to a valuation. Deal 2. TransDigm Group, the quiet defense roll-up king. You've probably never heard of TransDigm, but Wall Street loves them. TransDigm has spent the last 20 years buying up small aerospace and defense component manufacturers, the kind of companies that make a single specialized bolt for an F-35. Why? Because once your bolt is certified for a military aircraft, nobody else can make that bolt. It's called a sole source contract, and it means pricing power forever. TransDigm's stock has gone from $20 in 2006 to over $1,200 today. Deal 3. HEICO Corporation, the parts powerhouse. HEICO is a Fort Lauderdale-based aerospace parts manufacturer that has made over 80 acquisitions since the 1990s. They specifically target FAA-approved replacement parts for military and commercial aircraft, as US military commitments require more aircraft maintenance. HEICO's revenue and acquisition pace have accelerated. Their stock is up over 5,000% in the last 25 years. Now, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't show you the other side of this coin, because this is where it gets controversial. The winners, defense contractors, private equity firms, shareholders, the engineers and executives inside these companies, the US economy. These contracts support hundreds of thousands of American manufacturing jobs. And frankly, the savvy investors who understood this M in a flywheel and positioned their portfolios accordingly. The losers, or at least the critics. First, American taxpayers. Critics argue that $38 billion in military aid represents a massive transfer of public wealth to private defense company shareholders. These companies are not struggling small businesses. Lockheed Martin posted $6.9 billion in net income in 2023. Second, smaller nations who don't get the same deal. There's a very real geopolitical inequality argument about who gets access to US military technology and why. Third, and this is the one Wall Street barely talks about, the concentration risk. When a handful of massive defense primes control the bulk of US military production, you get pricing power abuse, cost overruns, and what critics call a military-industrial monopoly. The Pentagon itself has warned about this. In 2021, the DoD released a study showing that the number of prime defense contractors had shrunk from 51 in 1990 to just 5 dominant players today. 5 companies controlling the weapons of the most powerful military on Earth. That is either a business model masterpiece or a systemic risk, depending on where you sit. So what does all of this mean for you? Whether you're an investor, an aspiring deal maker, or someone just trying to understand how the world really works, here are 3 lessons from this $38 billion story. Lesson 1. Follow the guaranteed money. In M&A and investing, the highest value businesses are the ones with the most predictable future cash flows. When you're evaluating any deal, whether it's a defense contractor or a local laundromat, ask yourself, how certain is this revenue? Certainty commands a premium. Lesson 2. Fragmentation is an opportunity. The defense supply chain is still fragmented at the subcontractor level. Hundreds of small, specialized companies are making components for programs that will run for decades. PE firms have been rolling these up for 30 years, and it still works. If you're thinking about acquisitions at any scale, look for fragmented industries with sticky, recurring revenue. That is the roll-up playbook. Lesson 3. Government contracts change valuations. If you're ever analyzing a company for investment, acquisition, or even a job, check their government contract exposure. A company with 60% of revenue from long-term government contracts is a fundamentally different risk profile than one selling to retail consumers. And that difference shows up in multiples, in borrowing costs, and in pricing. In a future video, I'm going to show you step by step how to read a defense company's 10K filing and identify which contracts are most valuable and how PE firms use that to price acquisitions. So make sure you're subscribed. The $38 billion US-Israel MOU isn't just a foreign policy story. It's a masterclass in how government commitments become private fortunes. It's a blueprint for understanding why defense M&A keeps happening and accelerating. And it's a window into the mechanics that separate the investors who win from those who just watch from the sidelines. If this opened your eyes, do me a favor, share this video with one person who's serious about finance. That's all I ask.